You know, I talked about this recently, and I'm going to talk about it again. Well, I talked about it just briefly. Well, basically I dedicated a video for it, talking about Mighty Ducks. And I'm going to talk about that part again, but I want to talk about the Disney afternoon shows that we grew up on, as well as the romances involved. Well, not just any romances, but more along the lines of the romances that Disney had an opportunity with these Disney afternoon shows to capitalize on, and some they did, some they didn't. For example, some that they did, and I will provide a text version of what I talked about in the description box down below. But the ones that they did, and this is going to be out of order from what I typed up, but basically the ones that they did, or Dragon Naturally Speak typed up, but getting back to my point here, the ones that they did take an opportunity on are kind of far in between. For example, you had DuckTales. Now, pretty much anybody that's followed DuckTales knows that a majority of the adult character class, if you will, was already linked to somebody. Yeah. The adult character class that played any kind of significant role in the beginning, middle, and end of the show had somebody connected to them. For example, we know that Scrooge was connected to someone named, I can't think of her name right now, Clementine or whatever. And, you know, that's about it. You know, he was basically with Clementine. That was basically his girlfriend. Long time term, no doubt about it. Then, you had later on, you had sort of a start, if you will. Sort of a start, even though it's kind of like a puppy love kind of deal, with Bubba and their new neighbor's daughter, Juliet, which was kind of a play on Romeo and Juliet. And I didn't mention that in the text, so if you don't see that in the text, then I apologize. But then the most significance, in my opinion, was Fenton Crackshell and Gandry. This was, of course, later on when we got into the Gizmo Ducks portion of the series. And to me, this is one of the better plot points or subplot points of the series, because it definitely expanded on that whole DuckTales theme to where it just didn't focus on Scrooge and his kid and the nephews and Webby and all that. It didn't just focus on them. It focused on the other characters. And it kind of showed, even in a damsel in distress kind of way, how big of a role Gandra could play. And how big of a role and how important this relationship she had with Fenton was. I mean, they even go on a vacation, which basically turns into a spy, turns into them being part of a spy adventure unexpectedly. You have Gandra and Fenton there, and the relationship being explored there and taken to that level. And basically be shown that, hey, they'll even go on adventures together, if you will. And you learn a little bit more about the characters. The thing is, when it came to a show like DuckTales, you didn't have to worry about establishing any characters with other characters. You didn't have to worry about, you know, dropping hints and Easter eggs of potential pairings. It was already done, right off the bat. Then you take a look at a show like Darkwing Duck, which was basically a continuation spin-off of DuckTales. And the same thing, Darkwing Duck being that Batman satire kind of thing Disney did, said, you know what, just like Batman has Catwoman, we're going to give Darkwing Duck Morgana. And that's what they did. And you might say, well, they didn't really capitalize Now you might say, well, Batman and Catwoman didn't really get together until about the '92 movie. That is true, but if history has shown anything throughout DC Comics, there was always that attraction. Tim Burton just said, you know what, let's make it official in Batman Returns, and that's what happens. But still, it wasn't really necessary for Darkwing to have that potential what-if kind of deal. It was more like, it's already done. Here it is. He's got a girlfriend. She's a sort of a anti-hero hero, or anti-hero heroine, if you will, in Morgana Carver. Now, you might say, well, it did kind of have the possibilities of a what-if with Gosling and Honker. True, but had they done a future episode, well, yeah, they did do a future episode, but had they done a future episode in the same vein, if you will, as they did the DuckTales future episode, and showed Gosling and Honker grown up and married, then yeah, I could accept that. But they never really gave any hint except for them being best friends, and that's it. You never saw any kind of hint or Easter egg of affection, flirtation, or anything. You didn't even see Gosling kiss Honker, so what does that tell you? Then you get to Gargoyles. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. But you get to Gargoyles next. And this was another one of those shows that, like DuckTales and Darkwing Duck, Disney decided, hey, we're going to officially put some romantic relationships together. We're going to stamp our approval on. And of course you had right off the bat the Xanatos-Fox relationship, which I think if you were new to the show really caught you off guard, because you wouldn't think that Xanatos would be with anybody, yet he was, and of all people it was Fox. And they took it to the next level by not just being known as boyfriend, girlfriend, and fiancé, you know, intendees to be married and then married. But you also had them start a family, which kind of, in a sense, turned them from bad to good. Full circle kind of deal. And then you had the more anticipated one that fans wanted to see, even though they were different species. And of course it was hinted at many times, like in the Halloween episode, and of course the episode where Goliath gets turned into a human, but before that, you know, Elisa gets turned into a gargoyle, and so, yeah. So yeah, you had all these hints and everything, and you knew Disney was building towards something, and eventually they finally paid it off at the end of Hunter's Moon Part 3, where she kisses Goliath on the lips. And pretty much is established through the third season, or the continuation series, Goliath Chronicles, that they are a couple now, an interspecies couple, if you will. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. I thought I heard my cat scratching it. I thought I heard my mom's cat scratching at the garage door, the laundry door to be let out. She's laying down on the table, being cool. It's about 70 degrees right now. But again, like I said, pretty much they had built to that, and they paid it off at the end of Hunter's Moon, which was, of course, the season 2 finale, and basically series finale to the original series before they went to the Goliath Chronicles, which aired on ABC, and basically continued it on from there. And then, of course, you follow that up with Quack Pack, and again, just like Darkwing Duck and DuckTales, Quack Pack didn't really need to establish any hints, Easter eggs, or potential pairings. Pretty much you already had it done because two of the main stars in the show, besides max teenage versions of, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, you already had it established that Donald and Daisy were together, even if they had these late 90 makeovers or redesigns, that they were together. End of story. And then, of course, you jump to Aladdin. And Aladdin, of course, you didn't have to worry about Aladdin and Jasmine being, potentially Easter egg as a couple, because that was already established at the end of the movie. So these were series that Disney had already decided to stamp their approval of, hey, let's start some relationships. Let's start some relationships between characters and go from there and see where it goes from there. They already stamped the approval there on these shows for that to happen. But then we get to the shows that, as I also mentioned in this text, that had the opportunity. They pretty much hinted threw Easter eggs at you. They threw Easter eggs at you about, yet never officially put the stamp of approval on. Yeah, they never put the stamp of approval of starting official relationships in any of these shows, but yet they hinted at potential pairings. They threw Easter eggs at potential pairings to let you know, hey, this is the direction we may be going in, or we do want to go in. So yeah. And to me, I think I said it best with Wuzzles, which was a non-Disney afternoon show, but still, it was pretty much indicated in the intro and throughout the series that there was an attraction between Bumblelion and Butter-Bear. And this was the Wuzzles. This was back in 1985. This was one of the first, if not very first, shows they did. For 13 episodes. And yet you never had one episode, not one real episode that indicated there was something between them. You never had one real episode that made you think, will it happen? Will they officially become a couple? Not one. And then, of course, you had a show that would be part of the Disney afternoon, and that was the Gummy Bears. Now, it's like I said here, and I've said many times, because I do support this. It's basically no matter how much you debate it, I believe Cubby and Sunny were meant and destined to come together as they grew up with each other. Now, as I say here, you can sit there and watch this and say that Sunny was meant to be with two other characters. Those characters, of course, being either Gusto Gummy or Buddy Barbic Gummy. And that's fine. And that's fine because you would say she and Cubby were like, and you would say that because you believe she and Cubby were like siblings. But this is what I say in the text, and this is what I say in this text, and I quote, "Yet one has to look at it from this perspective, that Cubby and Sunny, I'm adding that in, Cubby and Sunny are not blood related, and if television, live action or animated, has proven anything to us, that is, anything is possible, and never say never. And I still stick by my belief that had the show continued, it may have gotten, this is one bad thing about Dragon Natural Speaker, you're trying to say one word and it thinks you mean another. It may have gotten a movie in the 1990s, because I think in the 90s Disney wanted to go in that direction where every year or every other year they were going to have a Disney afternoon inspired theatrical film, that these two characters would have ended up together but by being showcased as gummy teenagers. Yeah. They would have basically done a Max on them like they did. They would have done what they did to Max in a Goofy movie by having them grow up into teenagers, and, well, there you go. But then I mentioned Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and I don't think I really have to read from there to really tell you about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and the debates that go there. I mean, the fact that pretty much you, right from the start, you pretty much had the debate going on of who Gadget would have been better with. Would she have been better with Chip? Would she have been better with Dale? Who? And first of all, I will say this. Thanks to such things as Boom Studios Comics revival of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, we pretty much kind of shut the door, potentially, on Dale and Gadget, because it was established. I mean, even the writer says this at the end of the final 8 issues of the revival. He says Dale's on and off girlfriend, basically his girlfriend, his official girlfriend, Foxglove. So basically that's slightly, because of the on and off thing he mentions, slightly shuts the door on a Dale and Gadget as far as Boom Studios is concerned, as well as far as the very famous, very talked about, and one of the more popular fan fiction webcomics out there of Mice and Mayhem. They even shut the door, not just on a Dale and Gadget possibility, but they shut the shipping door, relationship door completely, because they've already said Dale's going to be with Foxglove, Chip's going to be with Gadget, and heck, we'll even put Sparky with Tammy. End of story. And Zipper with Queenie. But yeah, pretty much thanks to those two things, several doors, if not all doors, were shut. But yet the fan base, if you put those aside, the fan base still is debating. The fan base still debates. I mean, there was even a topic at the Acorn Cafe forums that has people talking about it, and who would be a better choice for her. And I'm going to be honest. I was honest about this before. I'll be honest again. I am a supporter of Dale and Gadget. Why? Because I see a lot of potential. I see that attraction there. I see how they can be companions. They could be, a very interesting, couple. And to me, I believe, had the 1991 film been made like it was originally going to be made, had it gone through and been made, I believe in that 91 film, we would have gotten the answer, and I believe it would have been Dale and Gadget. That would have been the answer. Call me cuckoo, but I think that's what it would have been. But yet the debate still starts. I mean, it still continues. I mean, yeah, you could. I have no problem with Dale and Foxglove together. I mean, if that's where they want to go, if they want to go the direction that Boom Studios has left open, then go ahead. Fine, I'll go ahead and do it. I'm fine with that. Because I know maybe you want to go in that traditional leader gets the female member of the team route, and that's fine. That's fine. You can go in that route. You can put her with Chip. I have no problem. But I still believe that until we get an answer, we really get an answer of who she was going to be with, it's still open for debate. And I still, as much as I love Dale and Foxglove, I still support a Dale and Gadget relationship. I really do. I really do. I mean, you take a look at some of the episodes that prove it. The hints and the Easter eggs that are there from episodes like Carpet Snaggers, Calories Not Included, Double O Chipmunk, mostly, a wolf in cheap clothing. I mean, the list goes on and on of the hints. RoboCat is a good one. Again, like I said, of the hints and the Easter eggs that were thrown by Disney indicating they wanted to go in that direction, yet they never had the opportunity, like with Gummy Bears and Wuzzles, never had the opportunity to finally put that stamp of approval, and they missed out on it. They really did. But then we follow that up with Tailspin. Now, Tailspin, pretty much from the start, when you watch the entire series, pretty much already told you, hey, we're going in the direction of putting Baloo and Rebecca together. End of story. But yet, were they ever able to finally put the stamp of approval on it and make them official? No, they didn't. Why? Well, one, the series ended, and two, I think, just like with Rescue Rangers, a Tailspin theatrical film was in the works, but because of the bombing and critical failure, DuckTales was shelved indefinitely, and so we ended up with no end result. And the only way we ever get an end result is through the fandom, through the fanfiction stories and fan art. But yet, Tailspin was probably the strongest indication of a direction for a romantic couple and pairing that we will ever see in a Disney afternoon show. This was the strongest indication. I mean, it was right smack front of your face. There's all these Easter egg and hints, all these hints and Easter eggs that were right smack in front of your face of what they wanted to do. I mean, from episodes like, episodes like A Star Is Torn.